The culture currency show is for those who recognize that nuance is key. We don't pretend to have all the answers, but we tackle the issues that affect the majority when speaking of Black America. Our discussions are informed by the host's personal experiences and insights, and we're always open to evolving our perspective as we gain new understanding. This is the story of two friends from the Bronx who decided to get real, be direct, and impact Black culture.
Welcome to Culture Currency, where culture is the value.
Good morning.
Grand Rising.
How you doing?
How you doing today?
Good, good, good.
I'm great.
Okay, good. Today's topic.
Yeah, I think we're gonna call today's episode, if not you, then who?
I love that. That's a great one.
So what we discussing?
Today we're discussing parents who want their children to avoid dating people that have characteristics of them.
Wow.
If not you, then who?
Right. Let's start this off with, who are our kids' first role models?
Excellent question. So we already know who our kids' first role models are, right? It's us. It's the people in the home, right? It's their parents, it's their sibling, all of the adults in their lives, and the things that they're watching on television.
That too.
Yep.
If we know that we are our children's first role models, how should that translate in our everyday life?
Right. Ideally, it should translate into us being our best selves, with the understanding that everything that we teach them becomes their recording, becomes what they know. Mm-hmm. And then when a child grows up to be adults like us, when you get older, whether you like a certain behavior or not, if you don't know any better, you act out in those ways that you were already taught. Me and my mother was just talking about that yesterday, because somebody really close to me is going through, and we realized that those behaviors are generational. And the last generation who's experiencing it actually doesn't want to have children. Because they're afraid that they will pass down those toxic behaviors. You know what I mean? So, but that's one level of awareness, but what has to happen there is healing, for everyone who's still living, to help change the trajectory of where that family is going, so.
Interesting, interesting.
What do you think it means?
The same. I believe that we are all role models, right? Whether we're parents or not. Every day when we walk outside of our homes, whether we're in our homes, if we have people in our homes watch us, people outside our homes watch us, even when we don't know we're being watched. And somebody is admiring you on some level. Someone is mirroring you. Someone is looking to you for one reason or another. And when you really have that understanding, you know that regardless of what you think you're doing, you have impact.
Right.
And it's up to you to have positive or negative impact. You may say, I don't want to be a role model, but you don't have a choice.
It's part of the human experience.
It's part of the human experience. And so even if it's not a responsibility that you desire to have, you have it. And so what do you do with it then?
That's right.
Right? So as parents, it's a different level. Because if you say that you want the greatest for your children, then you have to show up greatly.
It's really tough sometimes, a lot of times, to see yourself. So a person may want the best for their children, not realizing that they're not their best selves.
Everything outside of you is a reflection of you. So when you want to see your children show up different, you have to show up different, right? When you want to see your children speak different, you have to speak different. Everything has to do with how we show up. And so I thought that this conversation was interesting because why are we wanting our children not to be with someone who reflects our characteristics?
Right. Some of it is regret. Some of it is identifying the red flags. So being that we've already had these lived experiences, as parents, naturally, we want to shield our children from the things that that hurt us, from things that we feel will stunt their growth. We try to shield them from all of it. So if I was someone that put my hands on women, right, and I'm no longer that. When I'm speaking to my daughter, I'm like, listen, you don't accept this type of behavior or this type of treatment under no circumstance, even if a person grew up this way. Point is that you're trying to protect your child from the pitfalls that you experienced, right? So a lot of times we may be ashamed of who we were, you know what I mean? And now that we're evolved people, more mature people, now you have the know-how and the experience to guide your child, you know what I mean?
Who we are in the past is not who we are today. And we don't live there. So we can bring our lessons with us and we can discuss that and say, you know, I have done this and this is what I learned from it. That is, I think, some of the beauty of raising young people and teaching young people and supporting young people is being able to have that experience and utilize that experience to give them foresight.
Right.
However, when we're having this discussion, we're discussing people who currently move in this way, but don't want their children dealing with somebody who moves in the ways that they move.
Like, for example, say you have a parent that's still in the street, that's still hustling. But they say, you know, get you somebody with a job, you know, educated, make sure y'all solid, because you never know. He could be killed in the street or go to jail and things, but you're being that. So basically what we're saying is you have to be the change.
Absolutely.
You have to be the change. You can't talk this thing, but you're not living it, or you're not walking that walk at all. I mean, I don't want to be biased here, but I think a lot of times those conversations definitely happens with fathers. You know what I mean? Fathers that you know, have several sexual partners and probably a family and all of these things, and try to avoid their girls from dealing with those kind of people. You know what I'm saying? But basically dealing with them. But we have to understand that our kids don't
follow our words, they follow our behaviors.
Our kids follow our behaviors, right? Not our words.
And I don't think you're being biased by saying that. I think many people would agree that that's a conversation that's heard often. However, I do say that today's conversation within women, with sons, they don't want their sons dealing with women who are there just for the money. But they have no problem with being very vocal about the money when it comes to guys they date.
Right.
And that's the other side of it,
right.
The other side of the coin.
Right.
And I always say to myself, if this is not good enough for your kid, why are you doing that to someone else's kid?
Right.
Everybody's somebody's kid, right?
Everybody's somebody's kid. If it's not good for you, how's it good for them? Absolutely. I love that.
We need to pay attention to what we're creating, right? What we do now, the choices we make now, and the output we put, you know, into the world now turns tomorrow into what it's going to be. Healthy connections are becoming obsolete because we're raising people who are supposed to be puzzle pieces to have the inability to connect. Right? So
because of the opposite lessons that they're being taught.
The lessons that are being taught don't match. Right? So when you're saying to your son, don't deal with somebody who's here for money, but you're saying to your daughter, find you a dude that's gonna take care of you. Those things don't go together.
Right. Or you're raising your daughter to find somebody that can respect them and, you know, be a good partner, but you're raising your son to feel like it's okay to have several girls, just don't get caught.
You're raising them to have no principles and not stick to agreements.
Yep.
You know, that's another conversation. There's a whole discussion about how all guys cheat, as if it's a part of a man's makeup to cheat. And I think it's important that we go back to defining terms, right? Cheating is going against the agreement. Right? So even if you believe that having multiple women is in a man's makeup, cheating is not that.
Right.
The agreement, being able to tell someone this is what we're doing, agreeing to that and sticking to that is very different. It is a flawed character to be disingenuous, dishonest, and disloyal. So if we're saying that these are male traits, then that's what we're saying that men are. I don't agree with that. I know great men who stick to their agreements, who, if they decide that they are someone who desires multiple women, are able to have the courage to speak to the person that they're dealing with, to have that agreement with them.
And let me tell you something. I really love that you brought that up and broke that down, because when you say, because what does that mean to be that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one example I have is my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is he perfect? No. But one thing, he was a polygamist,
Mm-hmm.
and he was honest about that, and say, hey, you know, this is what I believe in. If we're together, then these things may occur. Are you okay with that? You know what I mean? And then so you gave women a choice. He was very honest about that. So there are examples of that. And like you said, it's about being courageous and it's about being honest. So you can give people a choice. So if you want multiple partners, get with someone who wouldn't mind you having multiple partners. It doesn't have to be a dishonest exchange.
Absolutely.
Say your sons are watching you, your daughters are watching you. It's not just saying, oh, well, dad had multiple partners or mom had multiple partners. It's understanding that there was agreement between these adults. So it breeds a whole different understanding. And so when they become adults, they understand, like, hey, you know, it wasn't about being sneaky and being dishonest or getting away with as much as you can, where that goes into different areas of your life, not just intimate relationships. They understand that, you know, when I make these decisions that impact other people, then I must have an honest conversation with those people.
Absolutely.
You understand? So
absolutely.
Yeah.
As I always say, the difference between right and wrong is the infringement on choice.
That's right.
Right? So if you don't take the choice away, if you allow somebody the choice, that's not cheating.
Right.
But when you take it away, that's a whole other conversation.
Yep.
So now that we've dissected that portion of the male point of view, how about the women's point of view? If the rules that you give your son for dating women are different than the rules that you have when dating men, isn't that a telltale that you know that what you're doing is wrong?
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like if you're dating someone and you're with them just because they're able to care for you financially, would you want that for your precious baby boy? That means you're not doing the right thing. That's the part, right?
And that's the question I think we should have people asking themselves.
Yeah.
How you're moving with your mate, is that a way that you would want women or men to deal with your son or daughter?
That's right.
Right?
I love that.
And if not, then don't you think you got some adjustments to make? You know what I mean? If we're all trying to, you know, be decent humans, we know when we're not being decent humans.
Right. And then I'm sure that there can be a lot of excuses, like, well, what I do don't have nothing to do with my kids, or I'm doing what I have to do for us, and they have a chance to do it differently, so I'm guiding them in this way. But again, kids do what we do, not what we say.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way to make an excuse for a wrong. We've all done it at some point in our life. It's really easy to justify something. But we know when we right and we know when we wrong. And the goal here is healthy, right? So health comes by way of positive interactions. So my offering would be the blueprint. Be the example.
Be the blueprint,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. If you want them to be better, then you have to be real about what you need to improve about yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you can show up differently and give them that example.
You know what I like? Even doing that with your child. You know, and saying, you know, I've made these mistakes, I've done these things, and I'm trying to help you avoid that, because this is the impact that it's had on my life by not doing. You know what I mean? So still being honest and vulnerable in those situations.
It goes back to what you said, the whole shame thing, right? You have to do your work so that you're no longer ashamed, because, like, let's be clear. We all mess up. We all make bad choices. We all make choices out of desperation at some point.
Yeah.
We all do things that we're not so proud of. However, we got to understand that life is trial and error.
Yes.
Right? So
all the way
through.
through.
The entire time we're making error and we're making adjustments. And if you learn to be okay with that, then you can teach your children to be okay with that.
Yes.
And it makes the mental and emotional health of a child better when they understand that.
I was in the office with one of my family members because she needed some services and stuff, so I went with her to support. And she's talking to me about her, you know, what she's going through and everything. And the lady next to me said, wow. She said, I'm not trying to be nosy or nothing, but I'm thankful. It was so good for me to hear that, because I be feeling like I'm alone. and I'm the only one going through this stuff. You know, so being honest with your children and talking to them about your pitfalls and the different things that you've gone through and your mistakes, it really helps them understand that you are not alone. Like you said, we all make mistakes, and it's very, very important that no matter what you're going through, you are not alone. All of us have gone through it or something like it. You're never alone. It's part of the human experience.
I did the work on myself to be able to be okay with everything from my past, like every level of mishap, bad choice, disappointment, so that I could heal my family from inside out.
Right.
And so that's how I deal with my children as well. I come to them with, this is what I've done, this is how it turned out, this is what I learned, and I did this so that you don't have to. And not everyone's gonna listen. You know, some people have to go through it on their own. However, once you do your part, you did your part.
Period.
But as parents, that is our part. Our part is to be the example. We are not raising children, we're raising adults. And if we want them to be sufficient, if we want them to be quality humans, if we want them to be able to sustain and have happy lives, happy existences, it takes us being able to give them the tools to do that. And we don't give them the tools by just talking to them. You know, we give them the tools by being able to tell them, but also show them proof of concept.
Right, proof of concept. You don't miraculously have the skills to do certain things or miraculously have the know-how. It comes from somewhere. Whatever you're exposing your children to, understand.
Be intentional.
Because if you're not intentional, right, there's so many things that they're picking up along the way, and then when they become adults, you're going to see it all.
And you can't do this either.
Right.
Now it's, as adults, we're often, these kids these days, these kids came from us.
Right.
These kids are following the examples that we provided. So if they're a mess, we gotta see where our mess created this mess.
That's right.
And we have to make adjustments. It goes back to what we're saying, be the example, be the blueprint.
You know, many years ago when I was, taking that tangent, doing my thing outside, and I remember my father saying something to me, and he was like, you know your little brothers look up to you, right? You know they watching you, right? And I was like, watching me? Like, up to me? Like, what? Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, they watching what you do. You know what I mean? So just, be conscious of that. And, decisions you're making. I'm like, all right. I heard them, but I didn't want to hear them because I wanted to do what I was doing. But my little brothers, they do come to me for advice. You know what I mean? When it's time to make serious decisions and things of that nature, they do look at Big Sis. And I could have been a whole other example if I didn't let that sink in at a certain point. It's like you said, the people around you, your family, your neighbors, your friends, they are watching.
I had that understanding early in regard to my little sister. I didn't necessarily have that understanding early outside of the house. I was just doing me. That wasn't my concern. But my little sister was. It came about by way of my sexuality. So a lot of me not exploring who I was earlier had to do with the fact that I didn't want to be what my mother would think is a negative example for my little sister.
Wow, that's deep. And you know what? That was a point here. I just got to bring that up here about societal norms and how that impacts the impact that we would like to have on our children. Like certain things is for some people that come to this country. I know many people who are Latino that don't know Spanish because when their families came here, they felt that it would be a detriment to them in this American society. So they don't even know their native language.
Culture,
you know what I mean? Or you not being yourself because of societal norms, and you felt like it would be a negative example for your sister. So even in raising our children, we really have to examine what do we think is positive, what do we think is negative. It's just such a responsibility, and becoming a parent is a real thing. You don't just have sex, have these children, and then you can just have them and just haphazardly raise them.
Yeah.
It's a real responsibility.
It's a super responsibility.
Yeah.
It's the biggest responsibility you ever have.
In the 90s when the Bloods and Crips came to New York,
We thought it was fly.
Right.
And then we didn't foresee what it would turn into.
That's right.
And
now they popping each other heads off left and right.
Yo, there's people who see that early. Those are the people who, shut up, you always trying to get in the way of the fun. The people with foresight see it, they know what's gonna happen from this. They already, they don't just see what's happening, they see the future.
Right.
And those is the people in our culture that we clown. And then we're the same people who wish we had seen it back then.
Right.
But we had people telling us,
Right.
and we ain't listen.
Right. So what we're talking about and not wanting our children to date versions of ourselves is really about us not wanting to repeat generational cycles that haven't been questioned, you know. And for many of us, just because things haven't been questioned doesn't mean it's okay. When the whole household is not working, whole household, no one's educated, no one's into positive extracurricular activities, what are we doing generation after generation? If you're not happy in your life, right? If you don't feel fully fulfilled, then it's time to break the cycle. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's time to figure out how to break the cycle. So to my family member who felt like, I don't even want to have children, no. Really what it is time to get help. It's time for you to start healing, peeling back those layers so that you can change the trajectory of your family, starting from the generation that you can bring into the world.
And that goes back to what I say all the time. Like, I'm going to hammer this into people's skull until they get it. Like, we have a world that we create. The outer world is a world that we all exist in, but our world that we create is the world that we desire. And it comes by way of our choices. It comes by way of all of us dreaming it up. What does this look like? How
Right.
does it operate? And then moving in a way that makes that exist, right? So although we all have things that have been a norm traditionally in our lineage, I don't believe that traditions for tradition's sake make sense.
Right.
Make sure that it fits the picture of your world that you desire.
That's right.
And in order for your children to get that insight, you have to be that.
That's right. And don't have your kids do the heavy lift by themselves. It's hard to break traditions and be that chain breaker. It's hard, but don't have your kids on the journey by themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to be the person who's like, I'm too old to change, but I'm trying to make sure you do.
Right.
Like, what?
Yeah.
That's not how this works.
That's not how this works. We got to do this together, Dad. We got to do this together, Ma.
Yeah.
Auntie. You know
I mean, the reason I do this, because I'm leading by example. I don't just talk this, I am this, I live this with my family and the people outside of my home. I'm truly, truly trying to get us to a place where we understand that we are greatness. In all actuality, we are that. And as long as we walk in that, life changes for the better. Mm-hmm. I want to see us all happy. I want to see us all enjoying life.
Fulfilled.
Like truly, not joyful.
Right.
We get joy. Black people joy is a real thing. We run around and we smile no matter the circumstances.
Right.
But smiles don't mean that you're happy.
Mm-hmm. And living doesn't mean you're alive.
There you go. Mm-hmm. So it's the groundwork that changes that. And I don't think that there's a parent out there that goal isn't to make sure that their children are happy.
That's right.
And in order for them to be happy, you have to teach them what that looks like. You have to teach them how that behaves.
That's right. Be the change. Mm-hmm. Be the change.
I'm Mahogany.
I'm Ish.
And this is Culture Currency.
Where culture
is the value.
Make sure to like, subscribe,
comment, and share.
We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.